we are on our panel discussion, the first panel discussion for the day today, which is a cloud transformation panel discussion. We're talking about reimagining cloud in the post-COVID world, future cloud strategies. It's all about creating a policy, strategy, and adoption plan, establish a sustainable funding model to support the investments required to build business value from the cloud, establish a fully empowered cloud center of excellence, supplement skills shortage and seek knowledge transfer, recognize the need for optimization as an integral part of cloud migration, bringing agility to your IT infrastructure and operations, mitigate the challenges of virtualization, benefits of adopting IaaS, ensuring compliance and security in a regulated industry. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've got with us our panelists, Raymond B. Acosta, FEP Head for Infrastructure and Service Management, Union Bank of Philippines. Well, Raymond has been with the Union Bank of Philippines for 17 years now. He was a part of the implementation team that migrated UBP core banking from mainframe to open systems. Raymond is the FVP currently heading infrastructure and service management in the bank, responsible for making sure the bank's mission critical and income generating systems are available and performing as expected for the clients. We're also joined by our panelist, Mickey Lowe, Managing Director and Chief Technology Risk Officer, APAC, the Bank of New York Mellon. Well, Mickey joined BNY Mellon in July 2013 as the Chief Technology Risk Officer, APAC. He's leading the regional team with a mission to enable business solutions with proactively protecting BNY Mellon from information risk in balanced control environment. He oversees and governs the implementation of the bank-wide information risk roadmap in the region with particular focus and governs the implementation of the bank-wide information roadmap in the region with particular focus on the IT regulatory compliance. We're also joined by Christopher Alvear, the Technology Solutions Architect, Cisco ASEAN. Well, Christopher, been in the industry for 14 years, handling different roles from pre-sales to deployment, coming from different companies like Integrated Computer Systems, EMC, and Cisco. He's had a background in server storage, networking, virtualization, and next-generation apps to help transform his customer and accelerate their digital transformation to achieve their business goals. He's a graduate of Bachelor's of Science in Electronics and Communication Engineering in Mapua Institute of Technology. And this entire conversation and the panel discussion is going to be moderated by Sony Supriya, the SVP Head Pricing and Data Analytics, Maybank. Well, Sony is a seasoned professional and has been assigned to various pricing and data analytics initiatives in Asia, Europe, and North America. These include leading transformations to optimize existing or newly established platform and for departments from developing people and organization business model processes as well as systems and platform. Well, ladies and gentlemen, with this, I leave you to my able panel. Thank you so much for joining us today and giving us your valuable time. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, we can.
Fantastic, brilliant. Okay. Thanks again for everyone joining us this morning. We are joined by the esteemed panelists today, and I'm so glad to be here as well to be a moderator to the one of the most the first topic actually. This is about cloud transformation, reimagining cloud in the post-COVID world, future cloud strategies. It's a big word, isn't it, when we're talking about strategies. And then we're talking about cloud. We're talking about platform. We're talking about how we're going to do that. Where should one start with this? Do we have enough capability in doing that? Should we do it now? Should we do it later? This is kind of questions that we started when we, as a bank, maybe as an organization, when we start to embark with this. What kind of resources do we need? All the detail get into our head. And should we start with the consultant, or should we look at ourselves first? So this type of question hopefully will be answered very soon through our panelists here. And I would be very happy to start with a question regarding this. This is about the policy, strategy, and adoption plan. About this, the topic would be focusing on the strategy in adopting cloud. Again, I would start with Christopher. Chris Alvia is from Cisco. Obviously, you have a lot of experience looking after businesses, starting the businesses, transformation, and so on. So here we go, Chris. Start with you.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for that question again. We've seen a lot of customers moving to the public cloud or adopting private cloud, but they have actually need to be able to start first. We've seen in terms of, especially right now in terms of pandemic, that 59% actually expect to use to exceed the plans of their cloud infrastructure due to this particular pandemic. And our strategy in terms of how we be able to adopt cloud is corresponds to this particular three pillars that we're actually talking about. First is we need to be able to reduce the cost and then complexity when you're going to adopt public cloud or any cloud in effort in essence. How do we do it? We need to be able to simplify our consumption by able to automate everything. By having that standardization across and having that APIs on all the infrastructures that you have, you'll be able to simplify your consumption. So you're being at AWS or GCP or Azure or even your private cloud, be able to simplify all that thing when you are doing that reduction, that standardization of the APIs. And how we also need to take into consideration how that we need to stop paying for the capacity that you don't really need, right? People are moving to a public cloud and they're getting more templates and getting images just to assure the application experience. But what if we really don't get that full value out of it? We really the reason why our customers are moving to public cloud is more of ex- having an OPEX consumption, but we'll not be able to realize that if we're paying for something that we don't really use. And that corresponds as well to the infrastructure inside our data center. We need to be able to stop buying infrastructure as well, all throughout that you really don't use. So it's more of that efficiency, reducing the cost and complexity so that you would be able to connect to your private and public clouds. Next is the next strategy that we're looking at is to deliver the application experience. We adopt cloud is because we want our customers to reach us, right? We want our customers to be able to use our applications as fast as possible, be able to be agile enough. But we need to be able to connect those applications to our infrastructure faster and stay ahead of the competition that we have. Also need to optimize the application. Remember, I first talked about not buying the resources that you don't really need. We need to optimize those applications, even in the public cloud environment. We optimize as well the infrastructure resiliency with intelligent operations that we're looking at in that particular environment. And finally, the last strategy that we're moving to adoption of the public cloud is we need to be able to ensure the security, ensure the connectivity, and of those particular workloads. So reducing costs and complexity, deliver the application experience to our customers, and ensure that secure connectivity and workloads across all your environments. Because we're not really just talking about a single public cloud. You're looking at the multiple clouds from your on-premise environment to a public cloud. You have a choice right now, be it AWS, GCP, Alibaba, or Azure that you're looking at to be able to deliver that cloud experience. Coming from those three parts of strategies, that's where we'll be able to make the adoption successful for our customers.
Fantastic. That was brilliant answer. Can I just also mention this? When I started process of transformation, moving from our on-prem server into cloud, what we've done is because of budget and everything, there's a hybrid in there. Can organization do that as well?
Yeah, yeah. It's not a full bang approach as well. We're looking at there are times that you're looking at a hybrid, and that's actually what customers are adopting right now. It's not going to be always a full cloud environment. It's always going to be a hybrid environment or a multi-cloud environment. There are applications that can run on-premise and should be running on-premise, and there are applications that you can actually run on cloud. So if you're be able to, based on your policy, which application is best where that application is best run. Is it on a public cloud or is it on a private cloud? That is based on the policies that your company will have.
This is interesting. This is getting more interesting because bank or financial service is one of the most regulated organization maybe in the world. I can say that
Yeah.
each country they have their own. I'm not going to go into that yet. We'll talking about that later. We have one of the panelists will be answering this. But that in itself is one of the aspects that we as a banker or as an organization always dealing with. Regulation, should we do that? Or no, we can't do that. Should we wait? Or should
Yeah.
we, that kind of thing. But anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. We heard about the strategy from Chris. And this is about the experience from Ryan. Benefit of the cloud technology in infrastructure requirement. Maybe Raymond or Ryan can explain a bit of this, the benefit of the cloud technology and infrastructure requirement. Over to you, Ray.
Yeah, thank you, Sunny. First of all, I'd like to thank you for having us. It's a pleasure and honor to share our stories and to share our experiences. So I'm Ryan Acosta. I'm running infrastructure and service management for Union Bank. I've been in the bank for 17 years. So I really saw how the landscape changed, and one of the key strategies that we put into place is really to leverage on cloud. I'd like to thank Sir Chris for doing a good introduction on, for me to dovetail to, because he already set the discussion on, the types of cloud, private, multi-cloud, and all of which have their own benefits. So let me start with on our own experience in our transformation is we really leverage on the scalability. So that's one benefit that I can share with all the participants and the viewers. With cloud, I think it's already a known fact that we can scale faster, roll out faster, um, and in fact, our cloud strategy, our cloud adoption, which started 2015, we started with virtualization. Then we went to our own private cloud 2016, 2017. Last 2 years, we were cloud first, meaning all our initiatives would consider using the cloud primarily, other than the other solutions. And the past year, 2020, moving forward, we're already on our cloud only phase of our journey. So that's one, scalability. In fact, during COVID, and everyone was really pressured to put up VPN, work from home, and that was one very very tangible benefit of how scalable the platform is. I'm talking about both on-prem and public cloud, the likes of Azure, Amazon, and we were able to scale and we were able to put up and support our work from home for around 1,300 to 2,000 employees in just a week. If you didn't have that, it's going to be a very, very big challenge. And then another example for scalability is just to share, and I think this trend is happening globally. Digital transactions are really skyrocketing. In the Philippines alone, in our experience in the bank, digital transactions 11 times higher than your over-the-counter transactions. So having both private and public cloud enabled the bank to scale and not only thrive but actually survive and during this pandemic. And then another is I think Bhavana mentioned it, is to how to maximize on IaaS or infrastructure on all the as a service offerings out there, because you can already maximize on existing and tried and tested platforms. I saw in the agenda that we will have speakers from Via Appia, from OutSystems, Oracle Cloud. These are platforms and technologies that already offer business process automation, low-code programming that will really enable the institutions and enterprises to already leverage and maximize on what's already there. And then which leads me to the next benefit is really it's an a pay-per-use model. As Chris mentioned, it's on an OPEX model. There's cost efficiency. It allows you to focus on business growth because you really don't need anymore to think of your infrastructure. Uh, and then even on the resiliency and business continuity piece, there's a benefit. Well, for us, we're using cloud as already as our location for our disaster recovery and business continuity requirements. Because it's already there. It's a shopping cart of all the services that you will need, and probably what Chris mentioned, and I don't want to preempt what Sir Mickey will discuss, but as long as you measure the risk, as long as you're aware of what you're going to be subscribing to, and you're responsible and accountable for also for your security. And then probably the last thing that I would say is the very obvious is the agility that it gives you. The provisioning rate is, imagine before you order hardware, you wait 30 to 45 days. You set it up in your data center. Chances are there may be chances you get a lemon news, that it's really uh, pain pain in managing. But now you subscribe, you just fire up nodes, and it works. It just works. And then that's why the bank was able to roll out products despite this COVID pandemic. We were able to do digital account opening. We were able to launch mobile check deposit, allowing our customers to bank at home in the safety of their homes. And also, it allows you to fail fast. It allows you to experiment. It allows your organization to test out products, and roll out or decide to stop. And then last, probably the resiliency. If you're on a multi-cloud environment, just imagine the resiliency that you wouldn't have had if you're managing it on your own data center. Right now, you have multiple landing zones in Amazon, across the globe. Data being backed up in every landing zone. So, and in terms of the infrastructure that you need, if it's a private cloud, your x86 servers are there. We started using Cisco UCS servers when we first started our virtualization. You can also use the Dells. It's really a platform that's really accessible, and you just need to also be sure that process and people are part of the adoption, so that it's effective and gives you the benefit that you're actually aiming for. That's it, Sunny. Thank you for the question.
That is a very good answer as well. I'm very happy with this. I can put it as a summary that there's a four big words in this: scalability, cost efficiency, thrive and survive, and resiliency. So when we're talking about this, one of the topic that must be discussed within the organization and senior management level is one of those is cost efficiency. I'm not going to talk about this yet, but we will going to talk about that in challenges later. Because for those who just want to start embarking on this initiative, talking about maybe my organization needs this, but to what extent? What is the dollars we're talking about here? What is the impact? What is the return? That kind of questions must be discussed within that closed door. I think normally we have that during a EOD meeting and so on. So I will go into that more detail, but let's go into one of the meaty question here, the body of the question that we already wondering, how are we going to do it? Banking, and I mentioned earlier, bank and financial services is one of the most regulated business. And we have here Mickey from Bank of New York with tremendous experience here. Maybe you can explain to us from bank's perspective, what is it that you're looking at when you're looking at the regulation? Is it hindering, or is it in terms of moving forward? Is it slowing us down, or how are you going to see this? because it's also related with risk and security. Because regulator, we're going to see that from that perspective. On the other hand, we as a banks also have, our own governance. We need to look after our data. We need to look after our clients, and so on. What is your take on this, Mickey?
Thank you, Sonny, and good morning, everyone. And certainly, I like to echo all the comments provided by Chris and Ryan in BNY Mellon and most of the banks I've spoken to in APAC, also harvesting the same benefits and so forth. Now, I look after technology risk from a second line of defense perspective. So whether we like it or not, I'm the person to say no to all those all those requests and so forth. But I need to say no with an option to our management. It's not that I know. It's just that we need to make sure we have the due diligence on the regulatory aspect, on the control aspect, and also on the resiliency aspect before we rush into cloud. With all that said, I'm a big supporter of cloud. In fact, we started our cloud journey many years ago by first start with internal private cloud. We want to gain the experience in terms of adopting cloud, enable application to be cloud enabled, and then move forward into hybrid, and then eventually to the full cloud environment. Even when we subscribe to services, we may not even know actually behind the scene they're using cloud already. So those are the things that we need to pay note to. From a technology management perspective, cloud is a very attractive option based on the benefit that just Ryan and Chris both touch base on. From a regulator perspective, it's a mixed feeling in the region and also globally. There are some very stringent regulators who do not want banks to rush into the cloud adoption. And there are some regulators who are willing to help the bank to move forward into this fintech world and digitization journey by encouraging financial institutions to move into a cloud. Of course, I'm not going to name which regulator is which and so forth, just in case some regulators are here as well. But on one hand, I'm seeing as a benefit in using cloud is I don't think any banks or any organization can compete with the spending investment by cloud vendor in security and controls. They have the scale and they have the customer base, so they are capable in investing a bigger amount of investment dollar into strengthening of security and controls. And also because of the risk profile of cloud vendor, they are the basket with all eggs, and they're subject to all kinds of attacks. So it is their own interest to maintain the reputation and brand to ensure they're not being compromised. So they spend tremendous effort in securing the perimeter of the cloud itself. So I think this is definitely good news for SMEs, that SMEs may not be able to spend equal amount of percentage of investment into security, and leveraging on cloud will give you the benefit as well. Now, coming back to the regulators, my experience is I started with the cloud adoption in APAC almost like 5 years ago. I can certainly share that I started with Hong Kong Monetary Authority and tried to convince HKMA that we can move into a cloud for our CRM, the customer relationship management software. I'm not going to name which vendor. Initially, it was difficult. It was difficult because the lack of understanding and communication between a cloud vendor and the regulators on the security features, on the strength of the controls that can offer by cloud vendor. So I did really, I play a role in terms of ambassador connecting this vendor of cloud and Hong Kong MA to have a dialogue and to explain to Hong Kong MA the specific security features of the cloud vendor and so forth. In fact, some of the security measures are far better than what we can do in a bank because of scale. With that transparency on controls and so forth, we're able to convince HKMA that it was the right thing to do to move to the cloud for this specific kind of software. And I mean, with all due respect, we understand that we cannot rush into a cloud journey by saying, well, let's move everything onto cloud. So we need to we need to crawl and then walk and then run. So we start by first moving our low risk applications on the cloud, and then moderate risk, and eventually, hopefully, critical risk and high risk applications and so forth. So that experience taught us a lesson that upfront interactions, transparency, and discussion with regulators is very important. We adopt the strategy and work well with most of the regulators in the region, and we can move to cloud journey adoption to a large extent. Now, with all that said, recently there are some development on in the regulatory space, data location, data sovereignty. So Chris and Ryan mentioned that the beauty of cloud is, have a high degree of resiliency because we can replicate our data to multiple cloud in different regions and so forth. But then that causes concern of the regulator. Where is your data? I mean, for example, China doesn't want data to be stored in US. And so that's another hindrance now, because whenever we approach, for example, China regulator, I don't mean to say they are not good. Then we have to, explain how do we maintain our knowledge on data location? Where are they? And how do we ensure the PII data is local onshore, but perhaps transaction data can be offshore and so forth. Now that's a challenge. Cloud vendors will replicate data without that kind of, will be agnostic in terms of the content of data, because to them it's actually a block of data, right? So it is always an issue. And now there are other regulatory development because of that. Some other regulators react to that as well and say, well, you cannot offshore your data. You can use cloud, you use your local cloud, and you have to maintain a copy of data onshore, and that adds up the cost. If I'm going to leverage as a global company, I'm going to leverage cloud in other regions. If I maintain a copy of data onshore, then what benefit am I getting? And now the most recent debate or challenge we have is really from the Hong Kong securities regulator on this EDSP circular, the external data storage provider. So basically, we need to seek an undertaking of the cloud vendor to allow the regulator to retrieve data of a specific licensed corporations. That will be a concern because most cloud vendors have indicated that they will not be providing that such undertaking because they do business with banks. Banks are the clients, and they will not be responding to any other third parties in retrieving the bank's data and so forth. So there's a lot of challenges. Well, I'm seeing that this cloud journey is an interesting journey. It has a lot of thorns. We just need to overcome that. And I'm sure things will change. If I look back 5 years to 6 years ago, when we did not have cloud in APAC and to where we are right now, I think we have advanced a lot. And hopefully the regulatory changes will not pulling us back. We just need to find a way to address that. Now, I've seen that some cloud vendors, and again, I'm not going to name names, are responding to that requirement by instantiating sub-cloud in different countries. So I can store my China information in a China cloud and so forth. So that will perhaps address the data sovereignty requirement. So that's all on a high level. Now, another regulatory challenge that we're seeing right now is exit strategy. As when we exit a cloud engagement, how do we ensure we retrieve back all the data? How do we know they return all data when cloud vendors replicate data anyway all over the places because they want to maintain high degree of resiliency? So those are the questions that we need to ask the cloud vendor as well, and to demonstrate that. And the experience I had so far in terms of addressing cloud is, yes, we spend a lot of time in understanding the cloud architecture and security. We spend a lot of time in discussing with regulators in providing transparency to them and so forth. But then we should not underestimate the time that we spend in contract negotiation with a cloud vendor. We need the cloud vendor to follow our bank's policies. our bank's definitions in terms of incidents, our definitions in terms of criticality, our definitions in terms of timeliness, reporting of incidents, and so forth. And it's very difficult. And imagine just in region in APAC, BNY Mellon has footprint in 7 countries, with each country has 2 regulators. So 14 regulators have slight different requirement in terms of reporting on incidents. So how do we get the cloud vendor to recognize that? And they are not just serving BNY Mellon, they're serving other clients as well. So it is a tedious exercise and heavy involvement with our legal as well upfront to have that discussion. But again, I hope I'm not scaring the audience here. It is a interesting journey, and I think it is the direction to go. We just need to understand all aspects of it and nuances, and be able to to plan and work on those accordingly, and then we will have a smooth journey.
Fantastic. That's very good. Of course, looking at the future, this is the technology that we'll be using anyway. So the question is, how convincing are we when talking about the regulators? That's one of the issues that I currently have here in Indonesia. Previously, I spent my time 20 years in Europe, and one of the region that I was looking after is Asia Pacific, which is China part of it. I can share your experience well, the pain that we have to endure that time. Yes, I remember that vividly. And then when I moved to Indonesia, similar. I'm not saying that exactly the same. The question is about, we need to put a data center here in the country. So similar, what you mentioned earlier, that each country have their own, aspects of risk of security from their point of view. So I'm totally agree with that. So data sovereignty but exit strategy, I think that would be another thing that we need to think about before even we embark on that. That also one of the issue that we need to address long beforehand, because there's a lot of clause that we need to discuss with the vendors. I'm absolutely agree with you. So let's move on. I'm guessing this is about the journey in adopting cloud. Nikki and Ryan already explained that. I think Ryan has been since 2014, 2015, start that journey, and then only 2020 that all in the cloud. And then Mickey, because you're handling a lot of countries, some of them are started earlier, some of them are later on. But can you share with us? I'm understanding each country are different in terms of requirement and so on. But what is the similarity on all of this journey that you can see? Ryan mentioned earlier, yes, people is need to be involved. Yes, we need to look at the platform. What else do you think that in the journey that we need to start to looking at this? I'm passing it to everyone here. Start with Chris, maybe. You're still on mute.
Okay. Hi. Yeah. Sorry. So, in terms of where we are, is that sorry?
In the journey, it's a journey of you've been handling a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
What is the similarities?
So a lot of in this, I've been talking to a lot of customers in terms of where they are in the journey. Some of them have been adopting that cloud first attitude already. Wherein we're actually helping them make that connectivity across. We are also seeing people who are starting from that particular journey and how they are now adopting their cloud or building their own private cloud in the first place. Because especially where we are right now, we need to have that agility in place, because so we can actually be able to be more relevant in our businesses right now, in our infrastructure, because people are adopting that particular public cloud. People are adopting these cloud technologies. They're developing their applications already there. If they're not using that, they'll actually be outpaced. So in terms of those particular, there are some similarities that I've seen. Is we are on the verge of moving already there. a lot of talks have been, everybody is adopting, everybody was liking in terms of mobility across public cloud or connectivity across these particular clouds, that they can actually have that particular choice where they want to deploy these applications.
Okay, fantastic. Maybe from Ryan or Mickey. Ryan first, possibly.
Yeah. So probably just to share where I think the industry is, and speaking in behalf of the financial industry, it's really, really well unfortunate that it took this pandemic for people to realize that this type of adoption should be considered. I'm not saying a general statement that everyone needs to adopt cloud, but the the roadmap should be clear. Probably that's what I wanted to say. Every organization must have a roadmap. With this pandemic affecting the whole world, I think that cloud adoption or cloud transformation option has now been placed or embedded in the plans of all the organizations. And I think you also need to, you know, as Mickey and Chris mentioned, test the waters first. We started virtualization way back 2015, 2016, because we really just wanted to experience it and see if this is for us or this is really what we want to adopt. It's just fortunate and that we also part of the roadmap is really to do digital transformation, and I think for those companies, for those institutions that are planning or are considering a digital transformation, then cloud is one of the foundations there. I think there's no question about that. But private or public, you should consider that. Where we are now is, as I shared a while ago, we're now operating hybrid because again we're working with our central bank for their forward thinking. We are blessed to have a governance body that are supporting this initiative and plan. We're now again on our cloud only phase. I don't think it's going to end. Technology is has been evolving really really quite rapidly, and who knows what's next for us. But I think really just have a plan, very clear what you want in mind, and involve people, process, because it's not really just technology.
Okay, fantastic. What about you, Mickey?
Yes, I think I like to echo all the comments just mentioned. In terms of similarity, when I spoke with my peers in the region, I think most banks adopt the approach in terms of first start with private and then hybrid. And I don't think we'll ever be 100% public cloud anyway. There are high risk applications, for example, clearing, payments, SWIFT. Those we may not want to move into cloud because we have a different arrangement on resiliency and redundancy and so forth. But then definitely most banks are exploring as much as we could in moving out into cloud to leverage on this cost efficiency model and get rid of asset. I mean, we're financial institutions. We're not hardware company. What's the point to have fixed asset in a bank? So that is the model. Right now, in terms of where we are on the journey, as Ryan mentioned, we are in a hybrid model, gradually moving more on the public cloud and less on the private. But the private cloud will remain there because of different application nature and sensitivity and so forth. But I think Ryan mentioned earlier, cloud is only an enabler of our digital journey. We're moving actively in our digital journey. In view also because of COVID actually gave us very good experience in learning how to connect digitally from everywhere, and also for expedite our journey to an extent. Because, for example, we're moving away from wet ink signature into digital signature because of COVID. We can never go back to the office to sign paper. So that helped, despite we don't really like COVID, but that helped to some extent. So we'll leverage on that experience, and we'll definitely speed up our digitalization journey in that regard. So we are viewing cloud as an enabler. And again, cloud is a technology. I'm not saying that cloud is always public cloud. It could be private cloud. It's just a technology we'll be using. And our strategy is all applications or all new applications must be cloud enabled, so that we can decide at any time whether we want it to be on-prem or off-prem.
Fantastic. That is a very good answer as well. We're going to go into the next topic. This is about Q&A. I will give Bhavana.
Sure. Thank you so much, Sony. Well, we do have, firstly, an incredible panel right here. We do have certain questions coming in. I'm just sharing it in the chat as well in interest of our panelists. It says from Eric. So Eric's asking that moving to cloud-based technology would require BSP and NPC regulatory compliance. Question is how banks being approved by regulatory bodies, whereby we all are aware that by going to cloud, we expose clients' sensitive and personal information. So that's what Eric's been asking. Sony, would you like to direct that to your panel, please?
Sure. Thank you very much. This is a very good question as well. I think we touched about that earlier when Mickey mentioned about how we're going to do it from low risk, mid risk, and critical one. So maybe that's a journey. Maybe Mickey, you can reiterate about this question.
Sure. Let me try that. I presume the question was on this information confidentiality. How do we maintain that? Now, in fact, it's very easy to answer this question nowadays. If I look back 5 years ago, it's a very difficult question. And now, almost all cloud vendors provide encryption for data at rest, data in transit, and data on end device. And the difference is, and the nuances that we need to look into is, for those data encryption, we must make sure that the bank or the consumer of the cloud vendor will own the key to decrypt the data. The cloud vendor should not have the key and should never have the key. They will only see encrypted information. And this is a fundamental requirement from regulators. If we go to regulators without that features, you will not be approved, for sure. Now, with that said, if you go into some regulators, even may not approve with their features, because they would say, well, where's the data? Going back to data sovereignty as well.
Yeah.
So I hope that answered the question.
Great, fantastic. Does anyone want to add more, Ryan or Chris?
Yeah, I'll try to share or probably give my own insights. Us being a representative of the question is really Central Bank of the Philippines related. Echoing on what Mickey has shared, if this was done 5 years ago, it is going to be a nightmare. But now there's BSP Circular 808 with all the regulatory compliance requirements, really detailed there, and our available cloud providers like the likes of the Amazons, the Google, the Azure have already filled in that templated questionnaire. So right now, if there's a request, for example, if there's a request to central bank, we leverage on our partners already, filling up and giving up the information that are really pertinent to central bank, to BSP. And we submit a formal request, and then there's a number of days that they evaluate, some back and forth for a few questions. But we're really seeing the agency open up. In fact, this is a publicly this published article. We've been approved by BSP to actually put our archive backups to cloud. We stopped using tapes. Anyone who went through LTOs would know the nightmare of restoring data from mildew
Oh
accumulated
God,
LTO tape.
yes.
So at that time, it took 6 months for the approval. But now I'm happy to share that central bank already also has a process of evaluating. We've already also um, adopted and already that's why there's a circular also for cloud. So and then the key is in the key. You should own everything should be encrypted end to end. And then just be transparent. Yeah, that's one good item that was shared by Raymond. Thank you.
Great. I think hopefully that will answer the question from Eric Salazar. Bhavana, back to you.
Yes, sure. Thank you so much, Sony. So, this brings to a conclusion of our panel discussion. Sony, would you like to give any concluding remarks on behalf of your panel?
Yes, a few things in here. First of all, obviously, everyone will start with the journey. The journey will be about strategy, journey about the cost, efficiency, and so on. But after all, what is cloud? Cloud is just a technology. It's a platform. It's a just enabler. Unless we can understand what we are going to go or direction that we want to achieve, it will be difficult. You cannot use cloud for its fullest potential. So I think that is from our discussion here. Thank you so much for all the panelists. It's been amazing with you. Back to you, Bhavana.
Thank you so much, Sony. Thank you, Mickey. Thank you, Raymond, and thank you, Chris. Thank you so much. It's been an incredible start today. All thanks to our incredible panelists. Once again, a big thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for having us. Have a good day.
Thank you.